I'm the oldest daughter who always had to handle it all, and now I don't want my family at my graduation. I always have to be independent due to my mom's alcoholism. After moving out at 18, my mom went to prison, and my stepdad relocated. Since then, my husband and I have worked hard to build our life together, raising 2 kids without support from my family. Now that I'm graduating top of my class, I've decided to not invite my family since they've neglected me through hard times. I'm the oldest and only girl in the family, one of those super independent, self-sufficient types, probably because my mom was an alcoholic most of my life, so I had to help raise my younger siblings. As soon as I turned 18, I left my mom and stepdad's house to move in with my boyfriend. My parents got divorced, my mom went to prison for drugs, and my stepdad moved to another state with my youngest brother. After the dust settled, I was standing around like that John Travolta meme, like, where'd everyone go? I think everyone assumed I'd be fine on my own because I've always been resourceful and independent. I guess they were right, but geez. Since then, my boyfriend, now husband, and I have worked our butts off. We have 2 kids together. Neither of my parents was present for any part of the pregnancy, birth, or postpartum period. I don't think they've even met my second child. They weren't there when I got my first apartment, or when I got married. They weren't there when we struggled with finances and our mental health. They weren't there for any birthdays or holidays, including their grandchildren's. None of my family was. Not my grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, nada. My husband's family has been incredibly supportive and welcoming, to be clear, and I'm grateful for them every day. Now, I'm finally graduating with my first degree, top of my class, and nominated to speak at both graduation ceremonies. We have the large commencement ceremony for the entire college and a smaller, more intimate pinning ceremony for our nursing cohort. After much thought, I don't think I want my family to attend. There have been so many times that I needed them over the past 10 years, and that even doesn't count their absences during my childhood. And this post is only the tip of the iceberg. It doesn't seem fair that they get to celebrate with me after neglecting to be there for some of the most difficult and transformative years of my life. Plus, I feel like they'd show up and see how well I'm doing and use it as a way to excuse their shitty parenting. Like, hey, she turned out all right, didn't she? We couldn't have been that bad of parents. TLDR. I'm the hyper-independent oldest daughter who got ignored most of her life because she's got this. Since my family decided to skip out on all of the meaningful milestones of my adulthood, I'm not inclined to invite them to my college graduation. Relevant comments. Commenter. Info. How would your family know that you're graduating? Would they simply go there? I'm guessing that what you're feeling is longing and nostalgia. You mentioned grandparents, UNLCEs, aunts, cousins, etc. So you do have a big family, but none of them cared enough to check on you throughout the years. However, you also see, at this point in your life, congratulations by the way, that's an amazing achievement, that probably your peers are talking about mom and dad being in the crowd, how embarrassing it'd be if they take too many pictures. Or maybe you're looking at your in-law family and guessing, why couldn't I have this? Now this is just me speculating and I may be talking nonsense. Please, correct me if I am. You do not have to have your family attend. Not wanting them doesn't make you a bad person. Hell, after 10 years of not showing up, they're not even family anymore. Stay strong, OP, and I hope you have an amazing day. OP. I had texted my dad, uncle, and grandmother. I got maybes from my dad and uncle, and I'm considering it from my grandma, whatever that means, LOL. I haven't told anyone else, and I don't have my family on social media, so they won't find out from there. I'm definitely feeling some longing. It's exactly like you said. When you have these absent parents, you're always looking around at everyone else's family and wondering why you couldn't have that. So many of the friends I've met in nursing school are amazing parents, and I see the way they interact with their kids, and I'm like, oh, that's what it's supposed to look like. Thank you for the kind words of encouragement. I'm glad someone can see what I've accomplished. I'm looking forward to having the little family I've built attend, and my awesome in-laws. I think this is my last major adult milestone that would normally involve my parents, and I'm just coming to terms with the end of this chapter. Story 2. ATA for naming what my BL did as sexual assault. Last December, my husband's brother sexually assaulted me a week before Xmas while we were at a family dinner. It has caused a huge amount of turmoil in our relationship ever since, and today he told me that what happened was not SA, and that I blew this out of proportion. My husband's brother has a partner of 15 years, and they share 2 children together. They are always on, again, off again, and it's due to his behaviors. He showed up to the restaurant without her, as they were fighting once again, and began telling us about how he was awaiting his tests to come back for STIs after his solo birthday trip. While telling this story, he stared at my breasts for a solid 10-15 minutes, causing me to eventually get up and leave the table just to remove myself from the situation. Upon my return, his partner had joined us and things got worse. He was inebriated by the end of our meal, and having had originally planned to head to a cocktail bar afterwards, I gently mentioned that perhaps we would cancel our reservation. For whatever reason, my husband and his brother's partner thought it was a great idea for us to continue forward, so we went to get our coats. At this point, my husband and his SIL were in a different area talking to one another, and I felt hands on my hips, pulling me into the body behind me, and then promptly feeling a penis gyrating against me. I froze. It was my husband's brother. He carried on out the door after this, and I was left to process. While walking behind he and my husband, his partner shared with me that she had recently found out that he had cheated on her with a number of strippers. She was clearly upset, and when we arrived at the cocktail bar, she left the table to cry. I followed her to the washroom, and we talked for half an hour about what an ass he is and her next steps. Arriving back to the table, husband's brother asks where we had gone for so long. We told them we were talking. His response to this was to ask me if I was wearing panties while we were talking, assuring me it was okay if I had not been, and telling me I could stick my fingers anywhere I wanted, and he wouldn't stop me. At this point, my husband and his partner are gobsmacked, and I told him to stop talking. My husband got up to get the bill, and I was trying to comfort his partner while we were making a quick exit. He insisted I walk ahead of him, and I declined. This went on for some time, and finally, I walked in front of him just so we could leave, and he promptly ran his hand down the back of my dress, groping my ass. I caught up with my husband at this point and told him what had just happened. He wasn't able to process it in time, and the four of us parted ways. The next day, husband's brother called everyone in their family, telling them I had told his partner he cheated on her, and it was a lie, and that I was trying to ruin their family a week before Xmas. Things have been horrible for the past 10 months, with my husband's family disregarding what happened that night. They felt my husband should let it go because his brother was drunk, high, whatever, and nothing matters more than family. His mother has gone so far as to tell me she knows I'm the type of person to forgive, and another brother has screamed in my face because of this, stating that there are two sides. I don't feel I should have to forgive this behavior, much less support a relationship with someone like this. Because of this, my husband doesn't speak to this brother, and it has caused a lot of rifts between his other brothers, who are unable to face what happened, so they pretend everything is fine. Father, who openly said he doesn't believe what I'm saying happened, and now his mother. I've known these people for 5 years, and this was my final straw. I don't want a relationship with them. I have my own family, friends, and supports. However, this morning, amidst more chaos in his family, my husband told me he feels a lot of this is my fault for naming what happened as sexual assault. He told me that it is cringe for me to call it that, and that's why his parents and brothers don't support me, because they equate sexual assault with rape. I tried explaining the definition to him, and he shut me down, stating that I've come across as a victim for the past 10 months, and my anger is the reason there are now rifts in his family. Had I just let this be and kept my distance from this brother, he feels all would be well. I'm also making this post because he told me to focus group the phrase sexual assault for this situation. So, ETA for naming it as such. Edit. Wow, this got much more traction than I'd expected. I appreciate all of these responses, truly. I had started responding individually, but I'll issue a collective thank you for validating what I have already known for 10 months. I told my husband tonight that I took his advice and decided to do my own qualitative research on this matter, so he can expect a full report tomorrow. I'm only half joking. I did also tell him I'm finding us a couples counselor, and he agreed to this. I've recently set a hard boundary with the majority of his family, and I will die on this hill. My husband is welcome to have whatever relationship he wants with them, but I'm out of this chaos. Thanks again for the validation and blowing some wind back into my sails, fellow Redditors. Relevant comments. Commenter. NTA. Rubbing his genitalia against you without your consent is absolutely sexual assault. Your husband's family sound like a nightmare, and your husband needs to grow up and support his wife first and foremost. Commenter. You need to make a choice. Stay with your husband and continue to be assaulted by his brother. Get your husband on board to cut contact with his brother or leave. I'm concerned your husband doesn't call his brother out for his inappropriate behavior. The fact the rest of his family is trying to sweep this under the rug is also concerning. No one in that family seems to care about you. Commenter. Definitely NTA. Should have filed a police report there and then, and your husband and his family defending it portrays the way in which they were raised. Run, sis. Story 3. AITA for choosing my 16 mother after she cheated on my father. The affair was found out when I was 7, and my dad left her straight after. He was furious, and demanded a paternity test for me because he didn't trust that I was his kid. The paternity test was positive, but I still remember how cold and distant he was before we got the results back. As much as he tried to make up for it after, it was very hard to forget how he basically refused to talk to me or acknowledge my existence for what was basically the worst weeks of my life. It didn't help that he was not a good parent in general. He didn't know my teachers, my friends, or basically anything about me as a person. My mom got half of everything in the divorce, including the house. She had owned it before marrying my father. This only made him angrier, especially because she ended up marrying her affair partner. To him, it felt like she got no punishment for cheating on him, and it bled a lot into every interaction we had. Before last month, they both had split custody. When they first divorced, he was always angry and constantly interrogated me about my mom and her relationship with my stepdad, asking if I'd seen him around the house before they divorced, which I did and told him as much, and whether they were talking badly about him, which they never did in front of me, so I have no idea if they ever did. I will be honest, I preferred my time with my mom. She was constantly trying to make it up to me for the divorce. My stepdad also made an effort with me way more than my birth father did. My bio dad would go to work, come home with takeout, and would almost never talk to me unless it was about my mom. I didn't like spending time with him because of that. When my dad did finally remarry, it didn't help at all. His new wife also had children, but my dad made way more of an effort with them than he ever did with me. It hurt to see how he would go out of his way to get them presents they'd like or cook food he knew they'd enjoy when he didn't even know my best friend, who I'd been friends with for almost 10 years. Just a contrast between my mom's family and my dad's. When my dad and his new family would have any kind of special trip, they always did it on weeks I was spending it with my mother. Every time I had to watch my dad prepare for fun vacations to places like Disney World the week before they left, while knowing I couldn't go. But with my mom's family, and honestly I consider my stepdad and half-siblings much more my family than my father's, they went out of their way to include me in things even when they didn't have to, or when it would be much easier to just exclude me. 2 months ago, my mom and her family decided to move to a different state across the country. We ended up having to go to the courts to discuss custody arrangements, and the judge allowed me to choose where I would spend majority custody. I chose my mom, which apparently shocked my father. He sent me a bunch of texts asking me why'd I'd choose that whore and how she must have brainwashed me, both some of the tamer things he sent. I thought it was obvious why, but according to my friends, I shouldn't have chosen my mom because it was her choices that caused their divorce, and that it wasn't fair to my father. I don't think I'm the asshole at all because my dad is honestly a terrible father to me, but the people around me are insisting I should have picked my dad because my mom doesn't deserve it, and how it was my mom's fault our family was ruined. I personally don't care because even before the divorce, my dad was barely ever around anyways, so it's not like her cheating on him destroyed our family in my eyes. Relevant comments. Commenter. NTA. Your mom's choices weren't related to her parenting, so while it sucks for your dad and changed the family dynamic, ultimately, it never should have really bled into how your dad treated you. You were right to put yourself first. You, dad, should have been more of a dad to you instead of a grieving, angry husband. As someone who's been through the same thing twice with my dad, it sucks, but I'm glad you have your mom and stepdad. Commenter. NTA. Most kids will choose the non-cheater because that's the parent who didn't destroy the marriage. Your dad didn't destroy the marriage, but he did destroy his relationship with you. I suspect when he looks at you, he sees a physical reminder of his time with your mom, and he hates the memories that come to his mind. Because of this, he subconsciously treats you different. He doesn't actively realize it's making him treat you like crap, but it does. Tell your dad that if he had gotten into therapy to deal with his feelings from the cheating and divorce, maybe it would have prevented him from treating you like a burden, and maybe you would have a healthy relationship like he does with his stepkids. Yes, this seems harsh, but based on what he's texting you since the latest court visit, he deserves it. If the updated custody agreement says you aren't absolutely required to visit him, tell him you may just stop talking to him until he gets therapy for the anger he's carrying. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you enjoyed our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated with our latest ones. Have a great day.